You know that moment when you say something in passing and almost immediately, a little voice inside whispers, maybe that was wrong. Should I say sorry? And before you even notice, the words are out. Sorry. Again. And again. Maybe it's a tiny apology for bumping into someone, a casual remark that might have landed wrong, or even just for existing in a space you think isn't fully yours. It happens so fast that it can feel automatic, like your body is reacting before your mind even has a chance to weigh in. Most people never see this as anything more than politeness. But there's a certain kind of person who apologizes so often it becomes a rhythm, a quiet pulse in daily life. Society tends to misread it. They think it's insecurity, weakness, or a lack of confidence. And for those of us who live this way, that interpretation can sting, even when it's subtle. Can make you feel as though you're too much or never quite right. But here's the thing, this isn't a flaw. It's a pattern, a deeply ingrained one, shaped by experience, environment, and the subtle wiring of your nervous system. There's more going on here than people realize. We're talking about the psychology of people who apologize too much, and why it isn't about being wrong or overthinking in the way others assume. It's about something quietly complex. How you've learned to navigate the world, often from a very early age, in ways that helped you feel safe. Research in behavioral science shows that repetitive apologizing isn't random. Studies on social anxiety and interpersonal sensitivity suggest that some people's brains are particularly attuned to potential social friction. Their mirror neurons, those circuits that help us sense how others feel, are finely tuned, almost hyper-aware. This makes them instinctively preempt tension, a sort of early warning system that says, better to acknowledge, better to smooth, better to prevent a conflict before it happens. It's not about weakness. It's about a nervous system that has learned to protect itself. For many, this pattern can trace back to childhood. Maybe you grew up in a household where mistakes were highlighted more than accomplishments, where small missteps carried big consequences, or where emotional attunement was intense and unpredictable. Perhaps conflict felt unsafe, and apologies became a way to maintain peace, to keep the emotional environment stable. Over time, it became automatic, a survival strategy. Even in adulthood, even in relationships where the stakes are lower, your system still leans into that behavior because it once helped you navigate a world that felt volatile or uncertain. This doesn't make you better or worse than anyone else. Different people are wired differently. Some speak without filtering. Others move through life carefully, scanning for cues, adjusting, anticipating. Neither way is inherently superior. The pattern of frequent apologizing simply reflects a particular wiring, a nervous system that's finely tuned to others' feelings, often at the cost of your own space. There's a paradox here. The very thing that can feel draining, the constant vigilance, the self-editing, the urge to preempt mistakes, also brings a kind of quiet attunement that others can't easily access. People who apologize often are deeply empathetic. They notice subtle shifts in tone, micro-expressions, the almost imperceptible signs that something is off. Yet, that same attunement can come with hidden costs. Fatigue, self-doubt, or the persistent sense that you're too much even when you aren't. It's worth pausing here and noticing that this pattern doesn't define your worth. You're not broken, and your experience isn't evidence of failure. Apologizing frequently is a lens through which you've learned to see the world. A lens sharpened by life, shaped by survival, and guided by awareness. That lens allows you to navigate spaces with care, to sense tension before it escalates, and to hold relationships in a delicate balance. It's a quiet strength even when it doesn't feel like one. If this feels familiar, it's not just a personal quirk. It's a reflection of a particular mind, shaped by past experiences, and it has value. And there's more to understand about the way you relate to others, the boundaries you set, and the unseen ways you negotiate your place in the world. Each apology, each moment of over-acknowledgement, is a signal not of failure but of awareness. If this resonated, there's more waiting in the layers beneath the words you speak before you even think. There are patterns, hidden strengths, and quiet truths about how your mind keeps you safe, even when it feels like it's asking too much of you. And noticing them is the first step toward seeing yourself, not as someone who apologizes too much, but as someone whose depth and sensitivity have always mattered, even if it hasn't always felt that way. You've learned to navigate the world with care. And that, in itself, is something remarkable.